Mr. McCormick had required a new engine for the oil refinery. He was brought to Denville on Larry's freight train. Once he was cut out of the train, he rolled over to the shed. "Good morning," said Mr. McCormick. "What's your name?" "Ethan, sir," replied the engine. "Nice to meet you," Mr. McCormick smiled. "They said you need me to run an oil refinery. Just show me where it is and..." "Hold on," laughed Mr. McCormick. "I need you to work with Chris here for a few days. He will teach you how to do things." Ethan didn't like this. He thought he didn't need to learn anything. Chris led Ethan to Lake Junction. "Now," began Chris, "for starters, Look, Chris, I appreciate what you're trying to do here, but I don't need to learn. I have experience." "Oh, do you?" Chris asked. "Yes," replied Ethan. "I worked in a small industrial plant for a while." "Every railroad is different," said Chris, trying to be kind. "I still need to teach you." Ethan decided to challenge Chris. "I'll prove it to you," he boasted. "You go down the line, and I'll have this yard sorted before you get back." "If that's what you want to do," sighed Chris and puffed away. Chris made pickups and drop-offs along the branch and arrived back at the junction. Ethan had finished, but the yard was a mess. "What do you think now?" Ethan bragged. "The yard is sloppy. You put everything in the wrong place," Chris told him. "You call this sloppy?" snapped Ethan. "Yes," replied Chris, and proceeded to show Ethan everything he did wrong. This made him furious and more determined to prove Chris wrong. There are many junctions on the Southern United Railroad, but there is one unique from all the others. Yuba Junction isn't an interlocking plant like the others. It's operated by a railroad employee known as a switch tender. All trains, including the Flyer and the Express, are required to stop. After the switches are set, the switch tender flags them safely through. Two branch lines diverge here. The one on the left runs to Montrose. The one on the left is the Lodi branch that Mr. McCormick now runs. A few days later, Mr. McCormick wanted Ethan to take a train to Lodi. Chris tried to explain to Ethan about switch tenders, but the words just bounced off his radiator. The freight cars noticed this and saw this as a chance for mischief. Ethan rolled alongside his train. "We've been watching you work, and you're pretty good," said the cars. "Thank you very much," Ethan replied. "You shouldn't listen to Chris," they continued. "He's very arrogant and thinks no one can be as good as him. The thing he told you about the switch tenders was a lie, to make you late so you'll look bad to McCormick." "Oh yeah? Well, thanks for the warning." "No problem," replied the cars as Ethan went to be coupled up. The cars laughed. They took Ethan's arrogance and used it against him. Soon Ethan was headed down the line with his train. The car's comments went right to his radiator, and he began thinking of ways to get back at Chris for trying to trick him. The switch tender was waiting for Ethan to arrive so he could switch him to the Lodi branch. But to his surprise, he wasn't slowing down. Before he knew it, Ethan rolled through the junction. The switch tender shouted, but Joaquin didn't hear him, nor was he even on the branch line. Joaquin felt clever, but not for long. He heard a loud whistle and looked ahead. Christian was approaching on his track with a train of refrigerator cars. It was at that moment Ethan knew he messed up. "Get out of the way!" shouted Christian. Ethan's driver quickly threw him into reverse while Christian's driver made an emergency brake application. But it was too late as both trains collided with each other. "What's wrong with that switch tender?" said an annoyed Christian. Ethan gulped. "I kind of ignored him," he said sheepishly. Both tenders were undamaged, so Ethan reversed back to the junction. Christian passed by giving him a dirty look while the switch tender was telling him off. Once Christian was clear, the switch tender set the path for the branch line. But when Ethan's driver tried to move him forward, he found that he couldn't. The crash jammed the reverser. We're gonna have to call for help. Fortunately for Ethan, Chris was the only engine available. Look, it's the engine that knows everything, Chris teased. I'm shocked the engine with your expertise got into this mess. Ethan said nothing. Christian took the train onto Lodi. There was nothing left for Ethan to do but head home, backwards. He felt very silly. When he got home, Benny had to help him into the shed. Mr. McCormick came later and yelled at him, telling Ethan not only could he have caused major damage, but he could have gotten not only his crew killed, but Christian's as well. Ethan was alone until Chris returned home. I'm sorry, Chris. I shouldn't have listened to those freight cars. You were right about the switch tender and everything. I accept your apology, Chris replied. From now on, Ethan declared, I'll listen to everything you teach me. And that's what he did. After his reversal was repaired, he started training under Chris. Once that was finished, he began to work at the oil refinery. He's as happy as can be, and thanks to Chris, has become a really useful engine indeed.